Good afternoon. We will continue with Joseph Conrad's short novel, Heart of Darkness, the analysis of that novel. And I was talking about the fact that this novel is in the nature of an autobiography, because the character of John Marlowe is a somewhat disguised projection of Conrad himself. Now, we can see that Marlowe and Mr. Coates are two major characters in this novel. But besides these two characters, there are certain other people here that we need to take note of. Firstly, we have to look at the chief accountant of the trading company on whose behalf Marlowe makes his trip to the Congo. There is secondly the manager of the central station, which is maintained by that particular trading company. The third person that we have to take note of is the brickmaker, who, however, he does not make any bricks, but he functions as the manager's aide and spy. And he also provides a lot of information about the local people and affairs to Marlowe. There are also the group of white traders operating on behalf of the company, but they are actually doing very little. They are given the nickname of pilgrims by Marlowe. The Russian who becomes a great admirer and devotee of Mr. Coates, and who proves to be a source of much information to Marlowe about the character and the actions of Mr. Coates. And lastly, we have the Mr. Coates's intended, or the woman whom Mr. Coates had intended to marry. However, she has not been given any name in this novel. Now, if we look at the storyline, we would see that it begins with a group of men sitting on board a steamboat called the Nelly, and they are waiting for the tide in the river Thames to turn so that they might start their voyage. And one of the men is, of course, Charles Marlowe. Sorry, I said John Marlowe, but his name is Charles Marlowe. And this person was a seaman for many years, but now he has become a freshwater sailor. And Marlowe now tells his companions that even British or Britain, which is now a highly civilized country, had at one point of time been a dark one. And that was the time long ago when the civilized Romans had invaded and conquered Britain, so many centuries ago. Marlowe just thus points out that the original Roman invaders of this country must have noted with some dismay the utter savagery of the barbaric Britons. Next, Marlowe begins his account of his own visit to the Belgian Congo and his voyage on the river Congo, which he had made as the skipper of a steamboat. Marlowe is mainly concerned to relate the Belgian imperialism in the Congo, the exploitation and cruelty to which the native savages were subjected to by the white conquerors of that country. Marlowe goes on to tell his listeners that when he was a boy, he had felt a kind of fascination for maps, and he had a very strong desire to explore different parts of the world, especially Central Africa. And he had also noted with interest the river Congo, as it was shown on a map. And when he grew up, of course, he became a sailor, and quite an experienced one at that. And he sailed upon the seas. He goes to this Belgian trading company's headquarters in Brussels for an interview with the boss in connection with a job which he was seeking and for which he had been recommended to the boss by an aunt of his. And at the company's office, he encountered two ominous women who were knitting black wool, and a doctor who measured his skull because of his interest in the changes which take place in the minds of the individuals visiting backward foreign countries like the Congo. Now, the knitting women remind us of the fates of classical mythology, spinning and cutting the thread of human lives, while the doctor, cum psychologist, shows the modern interest in the working of the minds of human beings.